Welcome to the AGO Fishers of Men podcast. I am your host and Eastern District Counselor, Brandon Quake Schaefer, along with my co host and National Operations Advisor, Skylar Ron Burgundy Marsh. And together we are interviewing actives, alumni, and leaders in order to better impact the AGO world.
All right, what's going on, everybody? This is Skylar and Brandon here with our second episode of the Fishers of Men podcast. Today we have on the one and only Daniel Morpheus Nava. Daniel, what's going on? How you doing?
Doing good. Quarter's about to start, so it's exciting.
Yeah, when do you guys start back up?
I believe the 26th. Yeah, so guys are just starting to move into the house, and we've been preparing a lot for rush and stuff. So it's been good.
Sweet. Okay, so you got about a week before you start. And for some context, Daniel is the current president of the Alpha chapter at UCLA. And in just a few years, actually, 2027, the Alpha chapter, as well as AGO as a whole, is going to be celebrating 100 straight years on campus, which is a huge deal. So we're stoked for that and kind of doing some somewhat early preparations for what that year's going to look like. A lot of celebrations for sure. And so we'll keep you updated with that. But yeah, Daniel, we're thrilled to have you with us today. Many people know you by your last name, Nava. So probably going to refer to you that way throughout the episode. So Nava this guy is a warrior for Christ, having traveled across the world and preached the gospel to many. As men of AGO, our number one purpose is obviously to lead others to a saving knowledge of Jesus Christ. And Nava has truly embraced that mission, spreading the gospel both abroad and on campus. And actually, AGO Ministries, which is our nonprofit 501c3 entity, which provides grants for students to do missions work. We actually were able to contribute to Nava for a couple of his trips. So more on that a little bit later, but I just wanted to kind of plug it there. So yeah, so we asked Nava to come on because Brandon and myself have gotten to spend some time with him this summer at our President's Retreat out in San Diego, and also on our bi-weekly President's Circle calls. And yeah, we've just been impacted by his heart for the Lord and his heart for missions. And we want others to just hear his story as well. So lots we want to hear about with regards to your background, as well as, your missions work, how that all began, your time as an active, and now as president of AGO. But why don't we start at the beginning and hear about your faith background? You're such a personable, caring, all around great guy who really loves the Lord. Obviously, that's very noticed. But yeah, just can you share about your faith journey and kind of where were you spiritually before you joined AGO?
Yeah, definitely. Man, I guess for me, my faith journey's been kind of rocky. There's been ups and downs. So I guess growing up, life was not easy. My mom, single mother, living off like disability, Section 8, that type of stuff. And so there were definitely like hard points in my life, but my mom had a lot of faith. And so that helped out a lot. We would always go to church, go to like AA meetings, be in the daycare, like hearing all the Bible stories and stuff. And so I think that had a big impact on me as a kid. And then, we were very fortunate. Me and my brother, we got like scholarshiped through a Christian school, K through 8th. And so that was also really impactful, inundated with Jesus and the gospel of Christ from a young age. But still, I guess there was like a disconnect growing up. And so, yeah, I was not like the best kid. I gotta be honest. Yeah, me and my brother were kind of notorious for misbehaving, being troublemakers. Parents didn't want us over at their house, this and that. And so, yeah, I guess as things progressed through middle school, some more unfortunate stuff happened, and that kind of like led me and my brother to delve into worse stuff. So like 8th grade, started experimenting, like smoking weed, kind of doing whatever I wanted. My mom was like very hands off. She had remarried at this point, but the guy was not the greatest guy, kind of abusive. He was abusing like sleeping medication.
Mm.
And so, yeah, basically things sort of escalated. We got like evicted from our place. We were like in a hotel for 3 months, basically homeless. And my mom she was like recovering addict, and she was like clean when she had me and my brother. But I think having that influence in her life got her on that track again. And so we eventually got housed, but at that point she'd begun like using again and everything, and had like an overdose, and she was okay, but CPS got involved. And then me and my brother, we were staying with teacher and friends, family at that point while they were like figuring everything out. And then like my mom got put in like this transitional like rehab place. And so me and my brother were able to like stay with her there, which was really amazing because we don't have to go like into foster care. But it was kind of ironic because like we were there, but while we were there, like me and my brother were like smoking every single day and like just kind of going off the wall, started like selling weed and just like experimenting with other stuff. And we eventually got housed because my great uncle, he's pretty affluent and he wanted to help us out. So we like bought an apartment and me and like my mom was able to rent from him using Section 8. And so yeah, just basically keeping my lifestyle there, but still not finding like satisfaction. And I
Mm.
guess when I was younger, I would try to rely on God during tough situations, but I think as I got older, that just started to happen less and less. And then I think there was a period of time where just like kind of forgot about God and was just focused on, this is what I'm doing and this I'm like happy. And so yeah, that's it. But it wasn't everything it was amped up to be. I was playing football, I was popular, I was like able to do whatever I wanted. I could like smoke at the house, bring friends over, smoke, be in and out whenever, didn't have a curfew, and still wasn't really satisfied. Felt kind of empty. And so I started asking those bigger questions in life again. Like what is this all about? Like, is there meaning to this? Like, I don't know. I was getting to the point where it was like, I'm doing everything that I want to do, and yet like this is obviously not it. And so I
Mm.
started on this journey for truth and wasn't even necessarily looking for Christ or Christianity, but just through research and watching like honestly a ton of YouTube and sermons and stuff, just being really convicted like, man, this is the truth. And so for me, that was not something I could ignore. That's a huge truth. If Jesus really is Lord and like God is real, like Jesus is coming back, like man, all of these things, they require like a lot of my life. And I think especially for me, because I have a very addictive personality, it was like, if I'm smoking or if I'm doing whatever, like I'm all in. And so it was like, man, if I'm gonna follow Christ, I'm all in. And yeah, I guess it wasn't easy because, your freshman year of high school, like that's when you make all your friends, you form your community. And my community was people like doing drugs and on the football team and all of this. And so it was a little hard to like transition out of that, especially because at that point I wasn't really plugged into a church as much as I should have been, I guess. And didn't have like those mentor type people around me to like sort of guide me, but was still like trying my best. And it was funny, like that's the first mission trip I went on was like kind of during this period. And so that was like spring break of sophomore year. And it was like, all right, we're done. Like after this, like me and my brother saying like no
Mm.
more smoking, like no more like fooling around. And so like we're about to get on this airplane to go to Costa Rica on a mission trip and we're like taking edibles. It's like obviously that's not what you're supposed to be doing. Like, yeah, but God is super gracious. Even though I didn't know it back then, like having his hand over my life and just seeing like where he was guiding me. And so, yeah, going into junior year of high school, like totally stopped everything.
Mm.
Yeah, got baptized and ever since then been really trying to live for Christ. And it hasn't been easy. And I think,
Yep.
you know, coming into college was definitely looking for a Christian community and people to sort of like guide me. And I found that at AGO. And it's been really amazing to have like those guys around me to sort of be there for me and be people that I can look up to and like people that I can rely on and lean on when, I have questions or when things get tough. And yeah, that's been really amazing. And I know that was a lot,
No,
but
that's great. Thanks for being real. Appreciate it. And I know others will be encouraged by that. And I can resonate with your story and in high school, kind of having one foot in the world and one foot chasing after God. Well, I guess I wasn't really chasing after God if I kind of had one foot in the world, but how challenging that is to be caught in the middle of that and knowing what's right and wanting to serve the Lord, but still being chained to whatever that is. For me, it was girls or popularity or whatever that was in school. And so the freedom of breaking away from that and how the Lord then redeems that. And so appreciate you sharing all of that. Do you and your brother, do you two encourage one another a lot in your walks, at least, when you first kind of started on that journey more towards the Lord? Is that continue to this day? You still encourage one another in that way?
definitely. In the past, I think it was more so like me trying to spearhead things. Listen, John, like, we got to get on top of this. Like, no more fooling around. Like, like there's more to life than just like, smoking every day, like fooling around at the skate park, this and that. And I think it was really hard for him too, because my mom is like very much a people pleaser, will go along with things. And I think my brother is sort of like that as well. And so I think it was really hard for him to like buy in during high school but he was getting it though. And the Lord was definitely like working on his heart. And so he eventually actually moved to Austin, Texas to start a business with one of our buddies from high school. Yeah, he said just in Austin, like the Lord really encountered him and he just felt like convicted about his sin, convicted about like how, he was living, even like the business he was in. And so he got plugged into like Victory Outreach, which is one of the churches out there, started living at their men's home. And basically, he like dropped the business with his friend and started working for one of the guys of the church because he owns like a construction company, like remodeling company. So he's doing sales for him. And man, I've been so encouraged by my brother like recently. Like he's so on fire and just like seeing how much he's been growing in the faith. I remember when he first started like, changing and trying to follow God, he was praying for like hours at a time in his closet. And now he's like waking up at like 5 every morning and praying and getting in the word for like 2 hours with all the guys at the home before he like goes and works. And it's pretty exciting. January, he's going to leave for a year to do missions in South Africa with
Wow.
his church. And so, yeah, I've been just crazy encouraged by him and seeing his walk because there was a while where it was like, man, I'm going to college and I'm leaving and I won't be able to like be there to, like speak into his life and help him out. But just praying a lot and seeing like, God answers prayers and
Hmm.
being just so encouraged by, yeah, my brother coming to Christ and really like, surrendering his life. And now he wants to like get involved in ministry and, do the missions for a year. It's like I could have never like imagined that. Yeah.
Praise the Lord. That's amazing. Well, it seems like missions is running in the family, which is incredible. So we want to get to that. We want to get to your experience with missions. I was curious since you kind of touched on it. Was there anything or has there been anything specific within AGO that's really influenced you? You kind of talked a little bit about the brotherhood. Maybe expand on that a little bit more.
Yeah, I think just seeing different guys' hearts for ministry and for missions and for like their local churches. I think a big influence for me was just like watching Ethan's life, Ethan Nishikawa.
Hmm.
He's a recent grad from UCLA and president when I joined. And like, I mean, it was crazy. His whole story was like came in busy con and then just like has a heart for people and for kids. And so wanted to like pivot to teaching. And then now he's like doing full-time, ministry in LA, just planning like house churches and stuff. And I think he was like a big influence because it was like just realizing, especially being at UCLA, everyone's super career focused, super like academic focused, just trying to like make the most money, do whatever, be like super successful
Yeah.
in a worldly sense. And not to say like those things are bad, but just seeing, someone who really put their foot down and was like, no, I'm gonna live for Christ and I'm not gonna, buy into the rat race and just watching that. And I remember also, one of our Monday night meetings, we had an alum who's now doing like mission work. And I don't remember exactly who they were, but I remember seeing him come in and being like, wow, like it is, possible to do that. Because there's a lot of pressure at a school like UCLA to just do super well
Right.
academically, financially, and it can feel like a lot competing with the people around you, but just seeing people live for Christ, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
And kudos to you for pushing through all of that and realizing that, again, like you said, those things are not terrible. It's good things to strive for. But to hear you talking about sort of the bigger vision for our walks here, it's more for serving the Lord and finding ways that we can serve and love people. And I love hearing about the people in your life who have influenced you. I think about that proverb. It's forgetting where it is, but it's like whoever walks with the wise becomes wise. And to hear about these guys who have, gone on before you, a little bit older, and how they've influenced you, and you're taking that and you're applying it to your life. That's really encouraging. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so I think you mentioned that your first missions trip was to Costa Rica. What inspired you to go on that first trip, and what was it like?
I think this was at a period where trying to follow Christ to the best of my ability. And this was something my youth group was doing. And so I was like, man, like, let me, hop on this. And I think for me, it was also like, man, maybe this could be a pivotal time in my faith walk where I can put away a lot of the things that I was doing before. It's funny though, the mission trip was a little odd. So basically, we like showed up to this one place where people had like sent missionaries out. They were still like in a period of like construction, but it was like the end of the construction almost. So we were doing like landscaping stuff. I was like, what is this? Like, I guess we didn't do like a whole lot of like evangelism and that type of work. We did a little bit, but yeah, I remember kind of just being like, for a mission trip, this is like not the most fun, But I was even then I was encouraged. I remember like the Bible studies that we had, just being encouraged by those during that time, and I guess seeing like the other people in my youth group and because I wasn't really close to them at that point, but just becoming more close with them. And yeah, that trip, there was a lot of funny moments. Like I remember even it was like the last day, like supposed to be the fun day. We were at this place. They had little dune buggy things and little four-wheelers. And so we were in like one of the dune buggies and my buddy was driving and like I wasn't wearing my seatbelt. And he was going to just going like way too fast through these like trees or whatever and just like doesn't turn. And we go straight into a tree and I like fly forward and chip my tooth and like bloody up my gums. It's like, oh man, this kind of sucks. But and then like on the plane home, I like lose my phones. It was like all of these kind of bad things happening, but still just like feeling encouraged, like, okay, like God is with me. And yeah, just seeing like, man, this is what life is about, because coming out of the darkness and then seeing like, people are living for God and working for God. And this is sort of like a little picture of what that looks like. I was encouraged. So yeah, it was good.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Especially like walking into a missions trip, even as like so it's like run by a youth group. Thinking about how you can grow through it is awesome. And even in spite of all the calamities you seem to run into, you're still able to have some good takeaways. But yeah, can you talk about some of the mission trips you've taken like in the last year, specifically like the mission trips to Cuba and Vietnam?
Man, yeah, I think those have been like the most amazing trips of my life, honestly. Yeah, I guess to start with Filter of Hope. So that's a program. I believe it's affiliated with Crew or something to that effect. But what they do is they bring like water filters to communities that don't have access to clean water. And so whether that be in Cuba, whether that be in like Dominican Republic or other places. Yeah, and then through giving and installing the water filter, they're able to like present the gospel in a really clear and accessible way. And so basically, like the church I'm a part of in LA, Places, they, proposed like, oh, we're going to Cuba over spring break. Whoever wants to come, like sign up. And I guess it was special for me too, because I'm a big like clean water guy. Like I try to like donate to just give people access to clean water. Like that's a big thing for me. I think, man, it's kind of ridiculous that we're able to live such luxurious and easy and comfortable lives. And yet there's people out there that don't have clean water when like, man, we could easily make that happen. And so, yeah, I just jumped on it. It ended up being like, man, one of the most amazing trips of my life. And just seeing like the clarity of the gospel through the way that we presented it and seeing how receptive people were too was like almost every single house that we went to when we like installed the filter. Not only were they like super grateful, but they were super receptive to the gospel. And I think a lot of that was just like, seeing people understood their need. And with the filter and with bringing them the clean water, they understood like, I need a filter for my life and my sin. To give you like a little picture of what the illustration was that we would install the filter and then we would take some water and we would dirty it all up. And we would be like, this is kind of like our lives. We started out as like clean water, but through our sin, we become dirty. And, now what are we to do? And so can you make the water any cleaner by trying to add more water to in it? Like I think a lot of the people are Catholic. So it's like, this water that we try to add to the dirty water could be like good works or going to church or doing something like that. But that doesn't make the water any cleaner. There's still dirt and it's still murky. But when you run the water through the filter, it becomes clean. And so Christ is our filter. He's the one who makes us clean. And we need something outside of ourselves. We need something different than the water to do that for us. And so, yeah, people were just, they got it. And just seeing them accept Christ and trying to get plugged into a local church because we were connected to the church there, it was special. And just seeing the clarity of the gospel, especially for myself, because I think that was something that I was still sort of wrestling with, just like even now, like it was, yeah, because when I came to Christ, I didn't have like those people to really show me. And so like a lot of it was just trying to like figure it out on myself. And then I guess this process of like coming to college and being plugged into community and having people around me to like show me the gospel and then going on this trip, just like seeing like, man, it's that simple, like Christ is our filter, like Jesus is the one who makes us pure and we don't have to do anything. Like it's not of ourselves or of our works that we become forgiven or anything. Like it's all the Lord, it's all Jesus, it's all his mercy. And yeah, that was super special. And now just coming back from Vietnam, having sort of that clarity. And it was similar deal, like through my church, my college church. And this was part of like their servant leadership training. And so it's called like SLT. For the trip, it was 2 weeks in Vietnam, but before that, we had like a week of training. It was more so or like a retreat. And so we went up to like one of my church's retreat sites and we heard tons of messages and we went through one of their courses. It was like connecting with God. And so, man, that was even just like the training was really good. Not only connecting with the people that I was going to go on mission with, but hearing all of those messages and just being so encouraged by the connecting with God course. And I think that gave me a really firm foundation as we were going out and just understanding, like the urgency of all of this and just how real like the gospel truly is and even how holy our God is. And, we're stepping into this like unholy world and how do we, we're called to be like reconcilers. And so going to Vietnam, yeah, I guess it's a communist country. And so you can't be like super overt. If you're going through customs and they ask you like, oh, why are you here? You have to say like tourism. And even, when you're inside the country, you can't fly or give posters or anything. Everything has to be digital. So we did a lot of personal evangelism. So like going to the college campus and going to their version of like dining halls, which is street food, just like right outside, and sitting down with students either there or bringing the food back to campus, which is popular, and just talking and being like, do you know English? And if they did, just starting a conversation, being like, yeah, I'm from America. I'm here to like help teach English and I'm here with people from my church. And because basically my church had sent out missionaries a few months ago and they're going to be there for a year. It's the first ones that they're sending out. And so their job is to kind of get a feel for the country, just like settle down and start ministries there and get plugged in with existing ministries. And so they're under the premise of being English teachers. And so we were like partnering with them. But it was cool. We did a few of our own events with college students, and we did even an event with the university. And we couldn't be overtly Christian, but people were able to share their experiences of being a university student in the United States. And I mean, people were able to bring up God and the gospel a little bit. I actually remember I had a really good gospel conversation with this guy named Bao at the English zone event at the university, and was able to share my testimony a little bit. And it was cool because that sparked like a whole relationship that I was able to form over those 2 weeks where we met multiple different times and was able to explain, the gospel and more clarity. And I remember the last day that we were there, yeah, really just have a good conversation with him. And then one of the guys that was going to be there for a year. And so, yeah, he didn't accept Christ, but I think he was close. And he's now like super interested in doing like this course 101 that my church has, where it basically like goes over the fundamentals of, why even God and, why Jesus and what is Christianity and all these things. And I took it myself my freshman year and like it was super helpful. So I think if he takes it, hopefully he comes to know Christ. But yeah, outside of just the college ministry in Vietnam, we did like a kids camp. And so that was a lot of fun. I was able to be a counselor to like 8 of the kids, and it was like 3 days in the city by the beach. And so we were able to go to the beach and yeah, have a lot of fun with the kids. It was like under the guise of like an English camp, but the only English part about it was like we spoke English. And so it was basically like a Christian camp for these Vietnamese kids and doing a lot of messages, a lot of games. And the last day was super special. Like they had a salvation message for the kids and 10 people who like put their faith in Christ who had never done that before. And then like 35 lordship decisions. And so yeah, that was really, really special to see like all the kids just being so open and coming to faith. And, Vietnam is a country where I think around like 1% of the country is Protestant and then like another 5% Catholic and the rest are Buddhist or they do ancestral worship. And so there's very few Christians, and we had like even Buddhists at the camp who came to faith, I believe. So just seeing like the work there and seeing like, man, there's countries where people don't know about the gospel. I think in America, we can get kind of comfortable with this idea that, everyone has this at least vague idea of who Jesus is and, what the gospel is about. And there's churches everywhere. So if someone, feels spiritually inclined, like they can go to church. But in those places, man, people don't know about Jesus and people don't have this understanding that, yeah, he died for your sins. And if they are spiritually open or hungry, they're going to go to other places. And so, yeah, it's, I don't know, eye-opening being in those situations and seeing like spiritual warfare, spiritual battle is very real. And we got to go out and be, laborers in the harvest. So that's good.
Yeah, I
That's
love that. Love that analogy from the water mission. Now I'm kind of thinking about it. Like every time they get water now, they have to think of Christ. So
yeah.
that's so cool. And yeah, I love hearing about your heart and your drive for spreading the word of God. So it's awesome.
Yeah. And something you hit on too, Nava, was how the trips impacted you. I think when I've done missions trips in the past, I have this mindset of, oh, I'm going to help people and share the gospel. And absolutely, right. That's why we're going. But I often forget how much they can impact me or for the person who's going. You're so much like, oh, I'm gonna like help all these people, but I'm too arrogant to think that it's not gonna to impact me. So I always have to check my attitude and remember that the Lord wants to do the work through us too, through other people. And it's so often the people that we interact with on these trips, they speak into our lives in a way that you never would have guessed. So really appreciate all of that. Super good. And kind of in that same vein with missions, what are your plans after college? You seem to be super interested in continuing to do missions work. Are you considering maybe longer term missions work after school, or maybe just kind of continuing these shorter term trips? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about that, honestly, recently. I think I definitely want to continue in ministry to some effect. I don't know if that's missions. I think it would be super cool. I don't know. I've been sort of like challenged by the trips that I've taken recently. And yeah, I've been like, man, like why isn't this more of like a possibility or something that I've been thinking about? Tentatively, right now, the plan is to try to apply to clinical psych programs. There's one at Fuller that I really am interested in. It seems super, super cool. They have like this clinical psych PhD program where you also get a master's in divinity or ministry or like theology or something. And so, yeah, even this is like a little off topic, but this summer I was doing research with my honors anthropology program. And so the whole premise is they give you a little bit of funding and you're able to do like a project on whatever you want. And so I studied families' experiences in transitional housing because I went through something similar during high school. And so this summer has been like really special. And I think it's opened up my heart a lot for youth that are in those situations. And I think I've always sort of wanted to work with kids. And so I think, I mean, I don't know what the future holds. I don't know what the Lord has in store, but I think it'd be really amazing to try to do like something in like psychology and help kids that are underprivileged like that, or maybe do ministry in that area. Or I know a lot of like the facilities that like the transitional facilities are Christian as well. So maybe trying to just like get involved with them. Even, this upcoming year, I'm trying to maybe do like a youth group once a week at one of the places that I got plugged in at, like the Union Rescue Mission, because they have a transitional place. And we did some stuff last year there with my church, but I think it'd be cool to just be consistent and, help the kids out. I remember I was there just one time for research and I saw a kid that we had ministered to a little bit with my church. And it's funny because this kid was acting up, like misbehaving, honestly, like reminded me a little bit of myself. And I think some of the people I was with were getting a little irritated, but I was like, I don't know. I kind of understood where he was coming from and I was trying to be patient. And it was funny. It didn't seem like he got a lot out of it, But when I visited again for the research, I was like, saw him, we played a little basketball, and then he was super adamant, like, oh man, I got to go to like this Bible study thing that they're having. And so, yeah, I just continued to play basketball while he went. And then when I went to like return the ball, I don't know, it was super cool because that day that we were there with my church, he was like with this one guy, and this guy was like totally checked out, like even more than him. And I just go back and I see like them both at the Bible study, and it was like them and one other person. So it wasn't even like a lot of people were there. Like it was a social event, they were just there to hear like God's word. And I was like, man, this is crazy. It's like seeing like God is still working in these kids' lives. And I think that's what the Lord has called us to do as well. I think God has like a heart for people that are disadvantaged and in those type of situations, like blessed are the poor, and like who are the people that Jesus were ministering to? It wasn't like the crazy affluent and the people that have it all together. It was like the people that, have need and recognize their need. And so being able to minister to them in any type of way is something that I definitely want to look into in the future. And I think we can get caught up in like I think foreign missions are amazing. And obviously, like, yeah, I've bought into them a lot, but man, missions are everywhere. Like we never like the mission doesn't end. And I think that's something that I really got from this last trip in Vietnam, especially as we're preparing for fall with AGL and my church. It's like, man, we're always on mission, and God's kingdom needs to be spread everywhere. And so whether that be at the campus or like in our communities, yeah, I want to get involved. I want to, yeah, keep doing like kingdom work and see where Jesus leads me. So,
yeah, amen. That's great. Yeah, well, we'll look forward to hearing how your plans evolve and as you seek to, yeah, just follow the Lord's will for your life. So we'll look forward to seeing how that unfolds for you. And a little shout out to Nava and the Alpha chapter. Speaking of missions work in our backyard. These guys do Jesus Burgers, which is a weekly ministry where these guys hand out burgers to a lot of college students who are coming and going from parties. Maybe some are under the influence, acting out people, but whatever, they welcome them in and they serve them food, have conversations, pray for them. And I'm sure there's tons and tons of testimonies you could share from that. But a little shout out to these guys for what they do on campus every week. So really exciting. And to kind of wrap this up, since we kind of came back to AGO, do you have a favorite memory so far in AGO? Is there something that has stuck out to you? Funny? It doesn't have to be funny. It could be just something super impactful, a conversation, pledge process, being president. Would love to hear what your favorite memory is or memories.
Honestly, my favorite like AGO memory has to be just like Monday night meetings. I love the atmosphere that we have, just dressing up, like eating good food with the guys. Even when the meetings get like rowdy or whatever, I think that's kind of fun, and iron sharpens iron. And so just trying to like figure things out with the boys. And I don't know, it always warms my heart to be able to like walk downstairs and see all the guys together. And I think that's really what AGO is about, like the brotherhood that we have. And there's no better moments than like being with the brothers, sharing a meal and going through meeting, even like hashing and cleaning afterwards, like taking our shirts off and just getting down dirty in the kitchen. Like I really love it. And yeah, I think the retreats that we do are amazing. And there's definitely been like those special moments, but nothing beats just Monday night meeting with the guys. Yeah.
I love that. Well, that's great, Nava. We're gonna wrap it up there. That's a great place to, I think, end it. Super encouraged by everything you shared, and yeah, just praying for you guys as you hop into this next quarter in about a week, and you're stepping into the president role again, starting this quarter. So prayers coming for you, and thanks for hopping on. And yeah, just excited to see how the Lord continues to use you through your missions work and at UCLA. So we're looking forward to hearing more about that as the months progress. And also a quick little plug for AGO Ministries as well. If you are an active in AGO, we have a grant opportunity for missions work. So if you're considering going on a missions trip, doesn't matter the organization, we have funding to give to you if you are interested. So you can go on the website to find out more information about that or reach out to your district counselor. So that's all from us. Appreciate you, Nava, and we'll see you next time. Peace.